So you guys are going to hear that message. Okay. And Tiffany, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. My name is Tiffany Asbell, and I wanted to thank you for coming to Demo Day today and seeing all of our presentations. We appreciate your time. Growing up, I had a very skewed perception of what IT was and who worked in the field and what it meant to work in the field. I believed it was really dull, working in dimly lit rooms, and involved a lot of math. And I don't know about you, but I hate math. So I never really thought it was a career that I would enjoy. My friend's brother worked a lot with computers, building them, fixing them, and worked on making his own games with his friends. And it always seemed really interesting. But again, with that misperception, I never really thought it would be anything that I would like. I always knew I wanted to help people, so I followed a career path that eventually led me to go to school and graduate as a licensed physical therapy assistant. And now I'm looking to pivot my career towards one that fosters more of my creative side while still using my years of customer service experience, maintaining a fast and flexible schedule, and problem solving skills. After speaking with a few other programs, I didn't really seem to fit well with them and what I was looking for or wanting from the program. And then I found Savvy. And after watching a few demo days on YouTube, I was very impressed with the level of care, knowledge, and support from all of the instructors and TAs, and I knew I had found the right program. When starting with Savvy, we studied the Agile methodology, where we participated in 2-week sprints. I was a product owner from my team for the second sprint. I was responsible for managing our team Jira board, assigning user stories, making sure things are checked off in a timely manner, and making sure that all of our sprint goals were being achieved. And after completing our training with Agile, I did receive my Agile certification. I really enjoyed learning and using my Jira board because I like to make lists and I like to make a schedule. It helps me keep everything on track. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. This is my personal Jira board. Like I said, I love to make lists. It helps me keep things on track and it helps me prioritize things. It, gives me I'm a visual person, so it helps me keep a visual representation of what I still need to do, what is currently in progress with, or what still needs to require more testing, and what is completely done, I'm happy with it and I can push it out. So I really liked using that piece of technology when creating and working through my capstone. I decided to do my capstone project on creating a wiki-style web application called Hidden Oddities. Hidden Oddities is a website culminating information about popular cryptids found here in the US. Cryptids are the odd mythological creatures found in legend, like Bigfoot, Loch Ness, and my personal favorite, the Mothman. There are a lot of documentaries, TV shows, and other books and things like that that are really good at entertainment and explaining what these things are, but there's not always a big web representation for them, especially ones that bring all of them together into one place. So that's what I wanted my site to focus on. So if there's anything you want to know about things that go bump in the night, this is the page to use. When planning my capstone, I created a wireframe to get a visual rough draft of what it wanted it to look like. I knew I wanted it to be part informative and part functional, with a way of bringing them together to gain a lot of user interaction and, again, entertainment and knowledge for the user. This is my rough draft. And again, like I said, I'm a visual person, so I think I stayed pretty true to my original vision. There were some changes that I did make, but I think all in all, it still stayed true to my original vision. And this is Hidden Oddities. This is my home page. This is my guy, the Mothman. This is the statue that they have for him in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. First, I created my cryptids page, and this is going to be more of the informative side of the page. It just gives you a brief rundown, a brief bio of what the creature is, what places they have seen them, when they started seeing him around, any events that they have, been able to connect them to. And it also gives you an external link to their respective Wikipedia pages. And then there's just Mothman, there's Bigfoot, and then the Chupacabra. He's always an interesting one. Next, I created my blog post page. This is something that I'm really looking forward to working on in the future. I knew I wanted it to be very user interactive. So in future updates, I will be adding a login way for users to log in, save their passwords so they can actually search through the different blog posts if they're looking for a specific topic. They're able to leave a comment and a like on the post. And that again brings in user interaction because somebody will read the post, say, hey, I saw the Mothman, he was flying over East 40. And then somebody else is going to say, well, I saw the Jersey Devil in my backyard yesterday. And they're going to be able to talk. They're going to be able to get, a lot of good communication and a good sense of community going. And I really like that about this page and what it can do for that. Next is my Go Exploring page. Again, this is going to be more user interactive. This is going to give the user an ability to actually go and plan an exploring trip of their own. It at first is going to give you some just basic safety tips because we want everybody to be safe when they go out hiking, camping, and canoeing. So just general safety tips at the start. Next, I used my web API or my map API to display a map here on the page where you can Google or add in where your location is, put in your address, and you will be able to pop up on the map in the future. And then also other cryptid sightings or reported cryptid sightings will pop up around you. And then my National Park API will help you be able to search for parks given a state criteria. You'll be able to click a drop-down box, pick a state, and all the parks will pop up for that state. So it will give you all of the parks, all the activities for that park. You'll be able to look on the map, find that park, find where you are, and then all of the cryptids that you can see around you to help you plan your next hunting trip. I think that my biggest obstacle when working with this project was my APIs. I actually wound up having to use 3 of them. I used my map API, which looking back, wish I had had more time to customize and make it a little bit more functional. I then used my National Park API, which actually took a lot of customization to get it to a more functional state and get it to where someone can really interact with it more. And then I actually had to create my own API to, again, make it more functional and user-friendly, and again, get it to a point where I, in the future, in my next updates, will be able to bring my National Park API and my map together to make them more better able to work side by side. It was a really big achievement for me. I'm actually very proud of it. And all of the questions and research that I did with my TAs and all of the help that I got from them, I'm actually very proud of what I was able to accomplish with that. And I'm also able to hook up the back end to Heroku. So all of the information like the National Park API, the map API, and all the user authentication that's going to be required in the future will also be stored safely on Heroku. Lastly is my resources page. This is just going to give you a bigger list of movies, books, and other websites that are not just for entertainment, but again, for further information as well. These are some that I have found to be helpful and also very entertaining. This is my contact information if you would like to send me a message on LinkedIn or GitHub, or look at my GitHub. And this is also a form where you can send a little message. And it is directly linked to my email, so I will be able to see them. And I wanted to thank you again for coming. And if I wanted to open up the floor to anyone who had any questions.
Does anybody have any questions for Tiffany?
Uh,
It was a great presentation. Go
Yes.
ahead.
So Tiffany, if I understood it correctly, you were going down this physical therapy path. What was the thought or the hook that made you take a look at IT as a potential career?
I knew I had always wanted to do something in the information tech IT side. It was just a thought of, I didn't really think I would like it. And then I didn't really know what area I would like the most. So with physical therapy, I knew I still wanted to help people. And I was trying to find a bridge of bringing that experience that I had with physical therapy into IT. So I love to do research. It's very soothing for me. So I just did a ton of research on different areas of IT that I thought I might like. Again, focusing more on the creative side of things, because physical therapy, even though it is still creative, I wanted something a little bit different in the creative side. I wanted something that I could actually build with a team and then push it out into the world where people could interact with it and use it. So that's where I talked to my friend's brother, and I'm like, hey, I'm looking into this. It's like, I really think you might actually really like it as well. Look into full stack coding first. And so that's why I started to base more of my research on. And then that's how I started looking to more of the programs. I talked with a few of them. They always seem to be missing something as far as interaction, and mostly interaction. And that's actually how I found Savvy. And with the demo days, I knew I had found the interaction and the care that, and the, not just the quality of the curriculum that I was looking for.
Great, thank you.
Very nice. Any other questions for Tiffany on things that go bump in the night? I love that. Okay, well, next up we have James, whenever you're ready.
Hello, everybody. My name is James McMinn Jr. Currently the senior digital strategist at Matchbox Design Group. And I do want to thank all of you guys for taking the time today to come see our presentations. I really appreciate that. I guess I'll give you a bit of history on the journey that led me here. Started off young. My dad and my uncle were both into computers and coding, and my uncle actually did it as a profession, which made me very interested in doing it. Interested in computers, just how they work at a young age. And actually ended up getting my associate's degree in computer information systems, and then went to Mizzou to pursue undergrad in computer science, which I quickly changed after the first semester when I received a D in JavaScript. So that's where that kind of ended officially. But after graduating, I continued to make my own personal websites. I made a e-commerce site where I was designing and selling t-shirts. And it turned out I was doing SEO for the site and didn't even really realize it. And ended up ranking the word Barack Obama shirts to number 3 on Google during his first election, which led to like $50,000 in sales for several months. So that got me interested in computers again and the industry again. So I actually ended up going back to school, got my master's in internet marketing, and that was mainly just so I would have paperwork to get my foot in the door somewhere. But long story short, like I said, I'm at Matchbox Design Group. I've been there for, I think 6 years now. But when I started, it was mainly just website development agency only. There wasn't really anything on the SEO or digital marketing side. But that has grown since I've been there. And what I realize is that the departments don't really talk to each other. developers don't really understand what SEO people need and vice versa, which I think is a common problem in agencies. And I was actually having a conversation with my boss about being able to have the departments communicate better with each other, sort of have a liaison person that would, know kind of both sides of things. And I mentioned Savvy Coders to him, and he was actually knows about Savvy Coders. So we ended up, talking more about that, and that's what led me here. As Tiffany said, during this boot camp, we did learn Agile. I think that was one of the first things we started on. And we've been able to put that into practice using our team Jira boards, personal Jira boards that we created for both our project and through our homework throughout to keep us kind of on task, doing daily stand-ups for our team. And throughout it, I was a Scrum Master as well as a developer, and started off basically the Scrum Master. I think it was the first 2 weeks, and it was facilitating daily stand-ups, helping the product owner when it was time for sprint planning, sprint reviews, and of course all of that was possible because we went through Agile classes, and then also had a self-learning video, I guess, series that we completed in order to get certified. But on top of Agile, I've been able to learn and get a pretty good grasp on a lot of things. So GitHub, VS Code, JavaScript, HTML, CSS, MongoDB, Node, Express, Netlify, Heroku, and I just rambled off a bunch, so probably forgot some. But I was able to take a lot of those things and put them into the project that I created. And the project is kind of, the way I put it, it's a take on Uber, but for hairstylists and barbers. So they come to your house on demand. So if you need a haircut, you can't make it, you don't have the time to get out of your house, kids, work, whatever. You look them up when you're on the app or on the website, and then set the appointment, and they would come to you. So now I'll go ahead and share my screen and show you. Well, maybe. Screen. Okay, so this is the page you'll see when you first come here. It's called In a Snip, and it's kind of your basic layout of a website. But before I show you the whole site, I'll real quick run through the about, because I wanted to input my a link to my wireframes on here in my GitHub, so you can see where I was at the beginning and then kind of where the site ended up. So I don't think I was too far off from where I initially started. And I will be able to share this link with you guys later if you want to take a look at all of that stuff. So the homepage functions, these functions take you where you need to go, but we'll just use the top. So services is where you go if you're, be looking through, a men's haircut, kind of what you get from it, the price. And a future feature that I want is to actually have user authentication, so that users, when they get here, they log in. So if they're, wanting a haircut, they can just click it and it will take them to be able to book it. And it won't be public, and I'll show you why that matters here in a second. But the stylist, this is where you would go check out your stylist. In the future, it would be nice if they have their own page or a modal that pops up and tells you kind of about them. Git has a star system, shows some of the other hairstyles or also the other cuts they've done. And also for you to be able to load your own pictures of like your hair and different cuts that you've gotten, so that they could see them and they know kind of what you like. Book Now can show you kind of how this works. And this would be also part of the user authentication. This would be on the back end. So I mean, this part wouldn't, but what happens after you fill this out would be. And I also kind of want to alter the way you enter this, just because personal preference, really. I just don't really like the start and end time, because if you don't enter it correctly, then you can mess things up. So let's say, you know, it's going to be an hour appointment, and then you hit submit, and it brings you over here to, there's an appointment is today is great. I did have these clickable to where it would take you to the single, but I decided, since I don't have user authentication, and that it's not really, there's a real point to have it on there right now. But so that's how that works. And then calendar's here for now, for you to go and look at the appointments that have been set up. But again, with user authentication, that will look different. It will only be viewable to the user that is currently in their account to be able to see it. We have a normal contact page, so just functions as a contact form, and just to show you that it's working. And that is pretty much it when it comes to the project. Thanks for listening, guys, and are there any questions?
Great presentation. I love this one. I do. I think I would utilize this service
Thank you.
or available to me.
Got to sell that startup.
There you go, Brent. Does anybody have any questions or any input? Okay. Well, moving along, we will next have Robyn, whenever you're ready.
Oh, while that loads, hi everyone. Good evening. My name is Robyn Mason. I have a background in human resources, and I created All About Breakfast as my January 2022 capstone project. I've been an HR specialist at Edward Jones for about the last 4.5 years, and I'm an aspiring junior full stack developer in the current cohort. I've been interested in coding ever since I had a MySpace page a long time ago. I had no idea when I would design my page that I was actually doing CSS and HTML at the time. It was just something that I did for fun, to just be creative and show my personality on the page. But I never lost interest in coding. I had a friend a few years ago who went through a different cohort. He actually went through Savvy Coders also. That was after he went through the first one, which was Launch Code. And he just explained like how much fun he was having and how much he was learning. So it sparked my interest again. I actually entered into a Coder Girl cohort, but I wasn't able to finish it due to me actually getting a job as an HR specialist. Then earlier this year in January, my interest was renewed, and I just was interested again, and I wanted to try my hand at it. So I actually joined the January cohort for Savvy Coders, and All About Breakfast began. Here is here are pictures of my wireframes of what I initially thought that my website was going to look like. It doesn't really look like this at all anymore, but from what I understand, that's usually how it goes. In learning, we actually utilize the Jira board for both the cohort and for our own personal projects. During the cohort, I actually served as the Scrum Master towards the end. So in our daily stand-ups, it was really about like trying to keep everyone motivated, and myself as well, because that's when we entered into the part of the cohort where members would start to feel kind of burnt out and like, oh my goodness. But in being the Scrum Master, our meetings were about like uplifting each other and keeping each other on task. With our retrospectives, it was interesting because we were able to really like fish out over time what we needed to do to stay on task, things that we needed to complete, our strengths and our weaknesses. So that was really interesting. And then for my project Jira board, I can actually show that to you. It's not much to see on it because I've completed most of what needed to be done, but it should show, if it loads, some of the things that I'm still working on. I'm still working on the hamburger bar for my website, and I wanted to add in search bar functionality, which I have not completed yet. And then I will actually take you to the website. So this is all about breakfast. Initially, my website was actually all about brunch. I had some challenges when it came to finding my API and getting it to render the things that I needed to render. I wanted it to actually pull up events, brunch-centered events and family-friendly brunch locations in your local area. So you would be able to search brunch locations and pull up events. That's actually something that I intend to add on later. This is actually my API right here. I actually have it set up to render the photo of the salmon Benedict. In time, I actually want it to generate random brunch or breakfast photos. Whenever you visit to the website or you refresh, a different photo will actually appear for you. And then underneath it, I just have fun information, fun facts about breakfast. And over here to the side, this is actually a throwback to when it was actually a brunch website, because if you click on it, it advises you to please drink responsibly. From the homepage, you can actually go, and this is actually a form that actually works where you can submit your favorite breakfast recipe to me. And if I get breakfast recipes, I'll go ahead and put it over into this empty space on the website so that people can actually see what they submitted. And then over to the recipes. So I wanted to list like a recipe database. This is the beginning of it, where you can actually click on it and you can go see photos of the recipes and easy recipes for you to try your hand at. And this will be expanded later. And then over here to this side is just the About Me page, and it just has information about the project itself. So some of the challenges that I encountered when it came to the project were, one, getting my API to actually render. The one that I tried initially, it wasn't a free API, and it wouldn't give me the information that I needed specifically without a lot of time, and I had time constraints. And then also, it was just learning a new language. Learning a new language can be difficult. It had been about 5 years since I tried my hand at learning a coding language. So learning JavaScript was very different. So for the future work for the website, I actually want to have, like I said, a new API that shows you the random pictures when you enter it. I'd like to actually have a recipe database that's centered around brunch and breakfast, and add in that events page and the local restaurant. So when you put in your zip code or the city that you're in, it should pop up and let you know what's for breakfast or what's for brunch in that location. Some of the takeaways that I had when I was doing the project is I realized that I like things that are aesthetically pleasing. So when you go to my website, I actually want you to be hungry. I wanted you to look at the photos, and it actually triggers you and makes you want to eat. I found that I really liked CSS and HTML just the same way that I did in the beginning years ago when I tried it. And I think that my website, it just reflects my interest in just being creative and trying things that are pleasing to the eye. And that is my presentation. Are there any questions?
I don't know that I have any questions, but I'm hungry now. Does that count? I want the mimosa. I want the salmon Benedict. Does anybody have any questions for Robyn? Okay, great job. Great job. Okay, next we are going to have Yuniek present. Whenever you are ready.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yuniek Porter. Growing up, I always had a huge attraction towards art and animation that started from watching the classic Disney movies and VCR tapes, along with other various classic animated series. Alongside this passion, I was a huge gamer and originally desired to be a game designer. In my first year of middle school, however, I lost interest, realizing how long the process takes to create one, which pushed me back to ground zero for what I wanted to do. However, in that same year, I met two new friends who enlightened me with their drawings and comics. Seeing how free they were, it fueled my free they were with my art, their art. It fueled my passion, and ever since that day, I've created over 100 original characters and over 7 story concepts. While art has always been my passion, I've come to realize that with time, I needed a boost to kickstart my vision. While I graduated from a tech school for graphic design, I once again began to feel lost for what I wanted to do. I worked part-time at a minimum wage job for a while, but I began to desire more. I realized that the path is long before I reached my dreams. It was until a member of Savvy Coders reached out to me and I joined a full stack development bootcamp. My dreams will never die, but joining the bootcamp may just be one of the best decisions in my life, which led to the creation of my first ever website. Today, I present to you Kawaii to Go. Sure. Okay, so Kawaii to Go is intended to be an online shopping center where customers would be able to find cute products with ease, hence the name kawaii, which is a popular Japanese term for cute. Basically, the basic idea is that vendors from across the globe would be able to post their cute products for anybody to purchase. It's intended to be global, as I envisioned, but this is pretty much the starter for the website. And what I've got here is the shopping page. Initially, I do want to add functionality to the homepage, as of right now it's empty, as you can see. But basically, depending on your purchases, I envision in the future that it will render like recommended products for you to purchase, depending on like your favorite items you listed or recent purchases. So as you can see here, we have a add to cart button, which basically you would like click on it and it would navigate you to your shopping cart. And from here, as you can see, it calculates the total at the bottom. Now, say we was to go to a different section, such as kawaii. You click here, and now it calculates the complete total of the products you have inside your shopping cart. One function that we worked on in the last few weeks was the remove item function, where basically, say you don't want an item in your shopping cart. Well, you can click this X button here, and it removes said item and calculates your new total that you owe. Initially, I intended for these navigators, kawaii and anime, to be pretty much filters for the website, since like kawaii is for cute products, anime is more somewhat for cool products based on like various series and stuff, such as action figures or so. But I had to settle for something different, considering that I didn't have access to an API that contains said information on like say cute products or so. So as of right now, it's currently more of a general store, but as you can see, we have the shopping cart icon. I am currently working on a checkout feature where basically upon clicking it, naturally, it would basically return, like, it would basically erase all objects that are in this list and push it to your orders page, so you can view your recent transactions and so forth based on the date. But as of right now, it's currently not functional, but that is something I plan on implementing in the near future. But alongside that, on that note, as you can see, this is more of what I had in mind initially as far as the website wireframes. Where as you can see, I had the cute logo here. I originally planned on having like cute mascots for, say, like assistants. Say if you need like help or something, it would pretty much respond with information. You can see the shopping cart. So this would be like the add to cart button. This is basically the basic layout, and just kind of like how the filter, well, the filter icon works here shortly, as I envisioned. Say if you click on this, it makes a drop down where you can select kawaii or anime and click like posters, and basically it will return that. In the near future, I also plan to implement user authentication and a search bar, so you can search through the various products that are on the website. So this would be kind of like the shopping site where you would have like you'll be typing in the key letters to a product, and it would filter through this with the search bar as natural. And another feature I want to implement in the future is also where you can click on the product that you want to view more information on, and it will populate the web page and basically give like the reviews, like say like someone thinks it's a nice product, you have like the star rating and all that. On top of that, the website is also intended for not only major companies, but also small like small companies as well. So basically, if a customer wanted to support like a small business or so, they could click on the vendor's account and view their various other products they house as well through here, which would be kind of like a link. But this was basically the basic format that I had in mind, and that pretty much goes from there. This is my agile board that I pieced together, which my screen is frozen. Sorry. But this was actually quite useful to me, so I kind of like struggled with it for a bit. But this also housed like a nice amount of things I want to have in the near future. On top of that, I also want to make a fresh API like from scratch. So basically, kind of like a storage unit for the orders that customers may make. So basically, when you refresh, it wouldn't get like all get lost. It would be stored in your orders page. Also, sorry, the Zoom thing is kind of covering. I can pop it on back real quick. Sorry. And here we go. That is still covering. Okay, but yeah, I would definitely say I had a blast when it came to the styling of the website for sure. This icon here was pretty much, well, it was completely hand drawn, but I definitely had a blast when it came to styling and HTML. But I would say adding functionality to the website was definitely one of the harder parts for me. But if I had to choose one that was especially the most difficult, it would definitely be the shopping cart feature itself here. So I will hop into that shortly. So, so this line of code here, it basically adds functionality to the add to cart button, where basically it says like, if the view equals shop, pretty much the page, it will like upon clicking the add to cart button, it will push this into the products list that's on the cart page. So that's how you're able to see it once you're actually on the cart page itself here. But on here, this is also where the total comes into play. So basically, through, I'm trying to find it. Okay, so through this line of code, it basically is pretty much declaring total as a variable up top. And basically from here, this allows for the total to calculate the total price. So it pretty much loops indefinitely with real time with this plus equal. So that's how you get rapid response. When you click the X button or add to cart, which as you can see, the total updates itself automatically. And this profile icon, it's basically, well, still under construction, well, working in progress. But from this, not only will you be able to customize your profile picture, but you'll also be able to view your orders, which is still currently work in progress. But that pretty much summarizes my presentation. If there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
Great job, Yuniek. You know, when I first talked with Yuniek, I knew that, well, she let me know how much she loved to design. And when I saw her presentation for the first time, I was blown away because she created a shopping cart. And it's incredibly complicated to build something like that. So I was expecting just the cuteness to overtake me. And instead I got cuteness and a shopping cart. So really, really great job. Does anybody have any questions for Yuniek? Okay, then we will move along. Good job. We are going to go to Jake whenever you are ready.
All right, thank you. Once again, I want to thank everybody for being here. We all appreciate it. We all worked really hard and happy to make it to this day here. So my name is Jake Puttawitter. I spent 3 years in an AT&T sales position before doing this. Helped me gain some extensive knowledge on multiple forms of technology and how it operates. After my time with AT&T ended, I decided to attend some classes at a local college and try to get a feel for something I'd like to do long term. After taking a few different courses, the one that jumped out at me was the Python 101 course. It interested me because while I had somewhat of a background in tech, I didn't really understand how the tech was internally programmed. And it's that interest that led me to researching boot camps and finding this program. For my capstone project, I decided to develop an information hub about some of my favorite outer space formations and tools, which are mostly unknown to the general public, along with a refreshable API that tracks the International Space Station and displays its current location at any time. So similar to Tiffany, great minds think alike. Shout out Tiffany. First, I'll go ahead and talk briefly about how the cohort began. Everybody's kind of touched on it, so I'll try to move through it pretty quickly. The first thing we learned when it began was the Scrum methodology, and we broke down our development cycle into 2-week sprints, just meaning that we create like an organized list of things to tackle within a 2-week period. So when the cohort began, everybody in the class was split into 2 separate teams, meeting at the beginning of every class to discuss what we learned, homework coming up, catching everybody up to speed, and making sure everybody was on the same page and had the tools to be successful. I also took on the Scrum Master role the second half of the cohort, which would just consist of me like running the daily stand-ups and checking in on everybody, make sure everybody's doing well. I also created sprints for my own personal project to make sure that I was keeping up with the homework and my capstone would be ready in time for demo day. I'll go ahead and share my screen real quick. So this was initially what my wireframe looked like. I started out with an entirely different idea, but shortly realized I was thinking far too large for what we were learning. It eventually changed and evolved to the capstone I'm about to show. I still kept sort of a similar layout on my oddities info page and how I list the different formations, like the style, but other than that, the idea is completely different. So this is the home page of my capstone here, on par with outer space. I wanted to maintain that dark theme. I'd say my biggest issue in this project was the CSS portion, which just means like the design on each page. Just because the theme is very dark, the legibility on certain things wasn't very nice, wasn't very legible. I mean, when I originally had this, my original homepage was like a bright blue background, but overall, it really didn't fit that bright theme for me, and some of the white was difficult to read. I'll touch on some of the cool CSS here that I like. I have these here. I have them layered over some text shadows. 3 layers using these 3 colors creates that nice glow effect, makes it easier to read on that dark background. And then these tabs here, along with the ISS API, I have it keyframed with a linear gradient. It has it rotate through the entire color spectrum over 5-second intervals. So I thought that was really cool. And then this is the API I was talking about. Anytime you refresh this page, it'll refresh the ISS's actual latitude, longitude, visibility, that sort of thing. So you should see the numbers update here in a second. Yeah, did they move? They're there. Then this will take you to the oddities page here. Let me see. So this is the oddities page. It's really the bread and butter of the website. It's why it exists. It goes through different space formations, planets, astrophysics tools. I felt that black really fit the overall theme of the website. I tried adding different images to the back of this page and the rest of the remaining pages, but they all really seemed to distract from the material. Overall, I felt like the flat black was the good pick. I tried to do like the glow effect on the entirety of the text, but it just kind of made it overstimulating. The whole point of this website is for you to read the text, so I decided to take it out. Third page is a working form that helps me to ever expand the material on the page. If you have any oddity you want added to the website, you can select the category here. You can give it a basic name, you can describe it, and it'll send it directly to my email. And that way, after doing a bit of research on the formation myself, I can or cannot add it to my space page for like future viewers. My last page here is the NASA page. Just goes a little bit about what they do for the space community, some of their achievements, a lot of stuff you're probably familiar with. Eventually, I'd like to grow this page and add some additional resources and international space corporations, but it's not really one of the exciting pages. Overall, this cohort was far more enjoyable and intensive than I thought it was going to be. I truly feel confident in my new skills, and I can't wait to see what I can do in the field. And I thank you guys for listening.
Great job. I love that. I love learning about the James Webb Telescope and all the cool things that are happening now. Does anybody have any questions? Nope. Okay, well, we will keep moving along. Next, we have Mike, whenever you're ready.
Okay, sorry about that, guys. I was trying to unmute my mic. Hopefully you can hear me. But once again, I would like to thank everyone for coming out to view our demo day presentations. My name is Michael Kelly, and I'm a second-time Savvy student, and I'm a former graduate myself. I'm here again to continue my education and reskill as a full-stack JavaScript developer. My first experience with Savvy, I would count as a success, as I not only left with information on front-end web development, but I also left with the opportunity to apply for entry-level IT roles. And I ended up landing an IT role as a technical support intern at a local Missouri job career center. Today, I'm looking to showcase what I've learned with my single page application. Like many people who are sports followers, I enjoy hanging out over food and drinks time to time to watch sporting events. In college, myself and a number of my buddies, we look forward to watching postseason sports and title boxing matches, MMA fights, etc. in sports bar grill settings. I remember we would call around town to see what sports bar grill locations were actually showing a broadcast, and we often had a challenging time to connect to a person in the establishment who could give us those verification details of that broadcast being shown. Alternatively, we would do the same thing by physically going to those locations and asking the same questions. My single page application quickly informs users of area restaurants and bar places that's close to their immediate radius. I feel like this is a good way for an outgoing fan to know what televised locations that they may have available relative to their immediate distance. From a business perspective, this is a great way to attract more potential customers, as businesses will be allowed to show their game schedule for the week. At this point in time, I would like to show you actually what I've developed. Right now, I'm sharing my screen. Hopefully you guys can see this. Okay. So here I have my wireframes that I created of how I wanted my website to initially look. And I had 5 basic pages. So on my home page, I have some information related to the purpose and a map to kind of show where you were at relative to a confirmed business that was actually showing a sports broadcast. And I also had a display page that showed the results of the games that you were particularly looking to see, if any were available at that point in time. And I have the search page where the user would first go to actually input the information of the sport, the event, the league that they actually want to catch. And I also have a login page, which I plan on implementing sometime in the future, because user authentication was a little bit too advanced for the scope of this class. So I kind of cut it out. And I have a confirmation page where a user can go to confirm, like if they're at Hooters, that Hooters indeed is playing the Cardinals versus Cubs game. That was my thinking. So at this point, I would like to show you guys what I actually created with my capstone page. maximize that. All right, so this is my home page, and the purpose of this page is to really give users the general purpose of what my application can do for them if they indeed decide to use my service. And I have a call to action button once they read this information above to get them started right away to viewing the games that may be available for that given day. In my single page application, I have this backsplash that I really feel is cool. I found the image online that kind of really gets a user in the mood to go out and have some fun. And this is the structure for every page that I have within this application. And the About Us page, I really just got some information, text information describing what type of experience that I would like our users to have once they successfully find a location that is showing their game. You know, ideally, somebody comes here and they find out, you know, what restaurant is showing something that they're interested into, and they go there and they have a blast. That's always my ultimate goal. And from there, I have a contact page, which users could come and they can leave feedback about the site. They can leave feedback about the service and how they're experiencing it. If they have any suggestions of improvements. Also, if somebody may be interested in business inquiries, they can be reached at this HTML input form, which is linked to my personal email address. And last but not least, I have my event page where users can see what sports that I have available on this page. In this case, I have 3 of the major sports in America: NFL, NBA, and MLB listed for now, but I plan on in the future adding some more sporting events, maybe like boxing or martial arts, etc. But I just want to limit it to these 3 sports for demonstration purposes. But as you guys can see, I have created a table for the sport that gives the information about the current game that's being played relative to the date selected. I don't have the date query feature yet, but I plan on adding that in the future to this web page. And this same structure really follows the same for the other 2 sports, NBA and the MLB. But ideally, once a user arrives to a restaurant, they could come to the bottom of this page and they can actually confirm this event by selecting the sport, the league, and the event that they're currently able to see at their establishment. And they can select the establishment below by just simply checking this checkbox relative to where they're at the moment. And then they would be able to confirm that specific event. Right now, this form is not exactly functional, but I would like to have it functional in the future to allow users to pass in the game information like Chicago White Sox versus Minnesota Twins. I would like for that information to be passed to my personal database, and from the confirmed events page, I would like to call that database API and populate that information on the confirmed events page. But that is something that I'm working towards in the future. And I actually want to show you guys my API call that I use to generate the data for these tables. All right. So in my code editor, I have my API call taking place on this index JavaScript page. And here's the sports API URL that I used. And from here, after I call that information in, I then store that information as an object key in my state folder that I titled, in this case, event. And NBA specifically is a key, and I assigned this key data to equal an array. And I can show you guys that folder to give you a visual. All right, so here's the event store state. So after I call that API in and I get the response from that API server, I store that specific key information in this array. And from there, I'm able to populate that information in my table from the events view page. Let me show you how that looks. And I have 3 separate API calls. So this is why I kind of was a little over redundant with the code here, but it was necessary to generate that information for all 3 of the sports. Just trying to get the scroll working, but at this point, I created a table element for that view. Here's the table element. And I used the JavaScript map method to call each and every one of those games that was associated with that specific call for that particular date. And I was looking to get the game title information, and I was looking to get the date information. And this helped me generate the table view that you see in my capstone. All right. So moving on, let me minimize that. So as mentioned before by my classmates, we learned a little bit about project management. We learned a lot about project management, learning Agile and a few Agile Scrum frameworks, such as Scrum and Kanban. And Agile can be described as the mindset of delivering the highest quality goods to the end customers through continuous delivery iterations and self-organizing teams. And Scrum is a framework that users can use to practice Agile amongst teams, self-organizing teams, excuse me. In this cohort, we were divided into 2 teams, as mentioned before, that included roles such as Scrum Masters, Product Owner, and Developers. And in my particular team, I was the Product Owner for the first half of the cohort, and I was responsible for creating a backlog items, which were tasks that was defined by the savvy stakeholders, and creating user stories for the items and assigning those items to members of my team, which were the developers. As we completed those items, I would move in our jury board. That's the board that we use to practice Scrum. I would move those items from start to finish as we were going through our sprints. We were also required to do a daily stand-up where we discussed what we did or achieved the previous day, what we're working on the current day. And we talked about any blockers that may have caused impediments with us achieving some of our user stories. For my personal capstone board, I used a Kanban board in Trello because I prefer to work on task at my own pace as opposed to working with the pressurized time box in Scrum. And I actually have the board that I use for my personal capstone for visualization. As you guys can see, I have a few items still in works, still working on completing my MVP. But I really took to the Kanban methodology as opposed to the Scrum methodology, just to kind of go through my backlog items at my own pace. So that is that. Let me see, obstacles I want to talk to you guys about. some of the obstacles that I faced. And one of my biggest obstacles was finding an API that displayed real-time data. I found very quickly that it wasn't too many sports APIs available on the web that allowed users to use free real-time sports schedule data. So with the assistance of my TA, we both kind of found the solution for me that allowed me to pull current or up-to-date information for my API calls for my sports table. So I was happy with that, but I also think that I found a little challenge in learning how to call HTTP requests for API calls to get data from a server and to send data back to the back end of the server. That was completely new to me, but it was very interesting to learn. And I enjoyed kind of playing around with that this cohort. My strong suit previously was the front end, so learning the back end was a little bit new for me. And in conclusion, I would like to continue to work on my MVP to have it fully functional and to work how I initially envisioned it to be. I can see this service being used by essentially anybody who's looking to go out and have a good time and really identify with more of an ease, convenience of the options that they have available to them. I kind of look at it similar to moviegoers. They have the ability to search movie theater showtimes and then know exactly what times a specific box office film is being played. And I feel like in this day of age, we should have something like that for sports games at sports bar grill settings. I'm proud, very, very proud to have completed my Agile training and receiving an IC Agile certification. And, I'm also very happy that I learned a little bit more about managing data on the back end and being exposed to Mongo database and a few API services. So those are all great resources that I plan on using moving forward in my pursuit to become a professional software developer. At this point in time, I would like to conclude my presentation and open up the floor for any questions that you guys may have for me.
Great job, Mike.
Hi, Mike. I've got a question on the search mechanism, the API that you were looking at to find the sporting events.
Mhm.
So was that going to like the MLBs and the NBAs and all like that to collate all that data?
So yes, I believe this API source that I use was an independent party and not necessarily officially associated with the data bank from the major league sports.
Okay.
That seems to be the hard part for everyone, kind of, is finding the API that works the best, or sometimes I guess you have to create your own. That's a tall order as well. Great job, Mike. Great job. Okay, our last presenter is going to be Tyler. So whenever you're ready.
Hey everyone, thanks for coming tonight. My name is Tyler Capstick. I have a background in the service, factory, and glasswork industry. I started working when I was 17 at a local pizza delivery company. After I graduated high school, I attended St. Charles Community College and got my associate's degree. It was in gen eds. I didn't know my major yet. I couldn't figure out my major, so I decided to follow the footsteps of my friend. So I was taking a lot of business classes. I had no plans on attending university. No, I'm sorry. I had plans on attending university, but life happened, and unfortunately, it had to be delayed. My girlfriend at the time, wife now, found out she was pregnant, so I had to get a job and provide for my family. Looking back at that now, that possibly could have been a positive because I was not too excited about the business route. I've had a passion for technology ever since I was a child. I remember getting a Nintendo 64 for Christmas, and I didn't put that controller down for a week. My mom had to pry that thing out of my hands. A friend of mine told me about coding boot camps. Instantly, I was intrigued, and I decided to attend a Savvy Coders preview night. I knew right away that was the career path that truly piqued my interest. I've done 2 other boot camps. I did their pre-work, and it didn't follow the methodology that Savvy had. And those 2, I ended up not taking the course because it didn't feel right. So for my project, I decided to create an anime personality website that allows my fellow anime enthusiasts to find out which character they are most alike. This website allows users to answer a variety of questions to determine which characteristics they have that are most related to a specific character. Many other personality tests that my friends and I have taken, we would answer 9 or 10 of the, we would answer 9 of 10 different answers, and we would all receive the exact same character. Something didn't seem right. So I wanted to build an innovative website that allows fans of shows to truly be excited while taking my test. Let me show you what I've created. First, I'll show you my wireframes, what I envision my website to look right off the jump. There we go. So initially for my website, I wanted a standard navigation bar. I wanted a website logo, and I kind of wanted it to be divided into 2 halves. I wanted the left half to have a picture of any random anime picture, and then underneath it, I wanted a question and 4 answers. And I wanted that for my initial start was probably like 10 to 20 questions that I wanted to cycle through and have a whole bunch of characters to get chosen. And then on the right side, I wanted to have YouTube videos of specific anime fights or funny moments, and then you could click on them and watch them as you take the test. Then I planned on having a facts page, and I wanted like a little box that you could click on and would like randomly generate a fact. And then underneath that, it'd be specific facts, and it would be like multiple shows with certain facts under each show. For my about page, I just wanted kind of something simple. It would just be a picture of myself and maybe a little information about the website and a little information about me, so you can kind of see what my background is. And then finally would be a contact page. Initially, I was just going to just put my straight email address on the contact page, not realizing that there were forms, which we learned through Savvy. So I could put that in, and then it'd be linked to my email, not just give out my straight email. So let me show you the website. So this here is Anime Persona. I kind of followed my my initial wireframe of dividing my website into 2 sides. I have on my right side, I have my YouTube video, which I set it to a position of fixed. So when you scroll down the page, the video will always be centered. And I thought that'd be a kind of a cool idea. It kind of varies when you zoom in, it can be off, but that's in another iteration. I'll fix that so it will go as you zoom. And on the left, I followed my original plan of having a picture of a anime character and and questions underneath it. Right now, it says there's 4 answers, but I only have values for 2 of them. So as in like the first question, which do you value more? I have friends and family and being the best. And the second or the third and fourth is question 1, answer 3, and 1, answer 4. Those are for future iterations whenever I add new characters and I guess when I add more specific questions, because right now I just wanted to get my functionality to make sure everything worked. And I'll show you when you scroll through, you can pick whichever answer suits you best. And then whenever you hit submit, the character will pop up that you were most associated with. I did my questions for one reason, or I did it for one reason, is that I wanted there to be 3 questions with 2 answers apiece. So no matter what, one character would win. I didn't want them to tie and then somehow mess with my code. And I can show you how if you answer the other questions, then you should receive the second character unless I have to I'm gonna have to reload my cache. Now, if I retake the test, sorry, it's messing up right there. Then it will give you the second character if you answer the opposite answers from the previous example. Sometimes it has a hard problem loading the characters. I think it's a cache issue. You have to reload the page or right click on the refresh button and clear the cache and refresh it that way. And after my homepage, I just have a simple contact page. It's a form that it's fully functional. You can fill out, you can put feedback in for my website if you like it, if you dislike it, if you think there's something that should be done, anything along those lines. You can submit it and then go back. I'll save my facts page for last. So here I have my about page. There's not too much in it. There's not a lot of weight on this website, just a lot of HTML, CSS. I kind of got really stuck on using the border radius. I changed all my pictures to have circles after I found out I could do that. I thought it was super neat. And then I have a little kind of like my intro for my about me. On my footer, I have a custom made icon that one of my friends made. I thought it was super cool, so I incorporated it. And then for my facts page, this might take a second to load too for my API to wake up. So this is my facts page. None of this is hard coded. It's all from my API. Initially, I had an API that I was streaming from Heroku. A week before demo day, my API completely pooped out. It wasn't working. I asked my TA, asked one of the instructors, it just wasn't working. So I went into panic mode, and then I forget if it was my TA or my instructor, they recommended me turning their data, because it was all on GitHub, into my own API, which is the route that I went. I had help from an instructor turning an SQL file to a JSON file because we didn't cover that in class. But after I got it turned into, I'm so sorry, that's usually when we start class. I forgot to turn it off. So I turned the GitHub information from an SQL file to a JSON file, and then I put it onto MongoDB. And here is where I have a table of, this is a table of 6 that has 6 different anime shows that all have facts in them, and they have pictures that I can call on, but I decided just to call them the facts. And that is in my code, which I can show you. So initially, this was my first API, which took forever to figure out how to do. It was such a defeat whenever I found out that this didn't work. So I had to kind of like buckle up and decide whatever I was going to do. I was either going to do my quiz or I was going to do the API. And I kind of just made myself do both. And that was kind of in help with using Agile on my Jira board to break stuff up in the little segments. But yeah, this is how I would call on my API, and I would call like in my array and then call within an object to get that. And I will also show you guys, this is how my quiz kind of works. So each of my questions, I have them signed to a value. Like question 1 has a value of Deku. Question 2 has a value of Bakugo. Those names might sound like they're made up, but I promise you they're real anime character names. And then I have right here is when you hit submit on my page, if question 1, answer 1 is true, so if that's checked, when you hit submit, it will give Deku a +1. Vice versa for the same question. If you gave the answer of number 2, then it would give it to Bakugo. And that's kind of how like all my questions are lined up. And that's because in my store folder, I have a file called quiz.js where I set both of the values of the characters to 0. So every time that one of theirs is checked, it will add one to the 0, add one to the 0. And that's why I did the 3 questions with 2 answers, so they just can't tie. And I didn't want to mess with how the code would be if I guess they would tie. Also in my store folder, I have a results page, and this is just it's both of the characters, and I set them to have each specific key value pairs. They each have a profile picture. That's like whenever you submit the quiz, it will show a picture of one of them, and it will show a description and a finishing move. And then all that relates to that the actual page that gets displayed, I have it set to an if statement. Originally, I had it set to a ternary, but I didn't have the return statement. I think that's what was wrong, why it wasn't working. So I just decided to go with an if statement. And looking back, that's when I figured out ternary could have possibly worked. But I have if quiz.deku, which is where deku's equals 0, is greater than Bakugo, then it will display this part of the page. It will display just him, but then else it will display the other character. Also for my site, I tried to make everything mobile responsive. So I can show you here whenever I inspect it. This is what it would look like if it was on an iPhone 6, 7, or 8. And you can see that my YouTube video is no longer displayed. And that's because whenever I had them both display at the same time, it would morph it and like stretch my pictures, and I couldn't figure out how to fix it. So I decided I was going to have like a little YouTube play box, so you can throw it off to the side or pull it back out. I didn't get a chance to do that during this cohort. It's something I plan on to add in the future, but I think it looks pretty slick with just the 1/2. It's a little bit less to see and you don't get to watch the video, but I guess that's all I could really do in that situation. My form is still the same. Nothing really changed about that. My facts page, this is the one for my mobile that I think needs the most CSS. It's kind of hard to read at times, but towards the end, I was kind of more focused on the desktop than my mobile, but I was trying to balance them, which would be one of my, I guess, hurdles I had to come over, was like time management and picking which tasks were more important. And once again, like falling back to the Jira board, I think that helped out a ton, because when the cohort first started, I was kind of a mess. I didn't really plan anything out. I was just like, oh, cool, let's just do everything on the about page. And it didn't work out. I ended up like falling behind. And to finish it up, this is just my about page of it in mobile view. Once again, I'm just obsessed with the border radius and my description. I think I have it set to like 70% width. It probably needs to be a little bit longer, but for the time being, I think it's okay. And I appreciate you guys all for coming out. If there are any questions, I'm free to ask.
Great job, Tyler. Does anybody have anything for Tyler? Any questions, any input? Okay. Well, that concludes our demo day capstone presentations. Everyone has worked really hard, and I think it shows. Really great presentations, and we certainly appreciate everyone that comes to share time with us this afternoon and view the presentations. So we hope to have you back for the next cohort. We'll be in a couple of months, or data analytics or cybersecurity, because we have all of those now. But anyway, just really great to see everyone. If you have any questions or you want to talk about a student or a presentation, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I can be reached at wilson@savvycoders.com. So thanks, everyone. We're going to give you back the rest of your evening.
And before you do go, I do have some certificates still. If you haven't gotten me your Adobe Docs, then please do so and I'll get you your certificate. But if I have everything I need from you, I emailed all the certificates.
You want the students to just stay for a few minutes? We can let the client partners go and we'll keep our students for some housekeeping items.
Oh, I mean, they don't have to stay. I'm all done.
Okay. All right. Well, we usually stay for a minute anyway, but thanks everyone for coming.
Good job. Thank you.
Thanks, Debbie.
Great job, everyone.
Thanks, Jenny. See you soon.
Yep, congratulations, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, Nicole. Thanks, Matthew. Okay, what do you think, Matt Thomas? You're on mute.
I was going to yell at you for calling me Matthew. Then I saw there was a person online.
Yes, somebody from
Yeah, I
Wash
know.
U. Thank you.
Awesome. It was awesome.
Right?
Everybody
Stephanie?
hired yet?
Almost. I got to work with a few people that have just started looking. So yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, I guess I can stop the recording.